episodes and some moments that we found were funny. Not everyone will think they were funny, but just moments that meant something to us that made us laugh.
Yeah, and I found some clips, and literally like it's three clips, and I'll as the episode goes on, I'll kind of dive into them at some point where I'll just screen share them and we can watch them. And
Oh, perfect.
they're like three clips that I immediately thought of, like when you brought up this topic that I was like, oh god, I got to bring these three up. One of them's a Nick Merckx clip, one of them's Ninja, and then one of them's a Jack and Daxter clip, which it was weird that I haven't seen the Jack and Daxter clip for like years, probably since I played it, honestly. But like in my head, I could like picture the scene and like some of the exchange between Daxter and I remember what the guy is. You'll see him in the clip, but it was just one of those ones where I'm like, I remember as a kid it made me laugh, so I had to clip it, and I'll bring it up at some point here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I just felt like we should jump into this area of video games, just because last podcast was pretty serious. I figured we should get away from being so serious before we make the fan base very sad. Just kidding. So when it comes to video games, I don't know what exactly you found humorous when you were playing, but some of the funnier moments for me were little things like glitches, stuff like that. So even if you go back to like the original Red Dead Redemption, I'm sure you've even if you haven't seen the glitch, you've heard of it, where like people act like animals. It's pretty humorous. It's
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a glitch where they were acting like animals, and there's also a lot of weird hybrid glitches that would happen where humans just look distorted. It's if you haven't heard of it, check it out. It's worth checking out. It's pretty hilarious. And then just minor moments in like the Fallout games, like these little side jokes and stuff like that would always cause me to geek out. I don't know what it is about, like, if I like humor that is very subtle. I like subtle humor in video games because it just feels like that's really the best kind of humor that you can get in video games. It's very hard to be on the head with comedy. One of my favorite. So there's this game called what is it? Shaolin Shadow. Hold on, I have to look it up. I'm gonna Google it real quick. You just tell us about one of yours.
Yeah. So you'd mentioned Fallout, and I guess one of my favorite moments, and I immediately thought of it as soon as you said Fallout. With 76, the new one, it reminded me of how everyone has their own communities and their houses, and you know how that goes, where we kind of all put our houses next to each other and whatnot. And Jake Hoffman, he had just recently moved his house, or he was in the process of like rebuilding it or something. And if you're on like a team and you like allow your friends like on a team, they can build stuff on your house. So he was like gone. I don't know where he was, if he was at like a vendor or something, but while he was gone, I just burned through like a few hundred like wood and just started building random ramps and stairs all over his place and maxed out his budget. So he literally had to go through and manually delete every single staircase. I don't know if I ever clipped it or if I have a picture of it, but it was literally just, he came back and he's like, what the fuck? No, he just sees these random stairs and ramps just going everywhere all over his place. So that was just a moment that I thought of as soon as you mentioned Fallout.
Oh yeah, Fallout 76. We had a lot of hilarious moments in there, just from us screwing with each other or screwing with other people online who in turn retaliated against us. For example, the nuke that they,
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, the nuke they dropped on our community that we established because one of us decided to go and break into their house.
Yeah, that was me. Because you and me.
Yeah,
we were vendor hopping. It was you and I. We were vendor hopping together, and usually people make their vending machines like they put them out in the open so you can easily find them. And we circled this guy's house for a couple of minutes and we couldn't find it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna lockpick his house and go inside and see if I can find it. Next thing you know, 10-15 minutes later, it was it like had the siren of like a nuke incoming, and it was smack dab on the top of our communities and where we had our houses. So these guys literally went out of their way. And for those of you watching who aren't familiar with Fallout, you can in the new one, you could launch a nuke anywhere on the map. There were certain sites that would spawn creatures that would give you high-level weapons, or you could just drop them on your friends just to be funny. But anyway, these random people decided to go out of their way, and this process takes anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on your level and how good you are at the game. So they took minimally a half hour to go out of their way to drop a nuke on us, and then we end up just backing out.
Yeah, I think we just left,
We just
honestly.
left so they go to nuke
Yeah,
us.
we can't go in our houses. We're kind of like, well, we thought it was funny. We left, but like, well, this sucks. Like,
Yeah.
it's uninhabitable there now. So we just ended up bailing out. But no, it was definitely one of the more overreactions I've enjoyed in video games. I've seen people do other dumb shit, but that one takes the cake because I'm not petty enough to do that. But I have nothing but props for someone who is capable of going those lengths. And anyone, like you said, who knows Fallout 76, for those people who don't, it's not exactly the hardest process, but it takes time to launch a nuke. It's something you definitely, like, if you're going to launch a nuke, you want to put it somewhere that's going to be beneficial to you. No, he didn't care. He didn't care at all. And I don't know, like, honestly, even like some of the lore in those video games is just really silly. Just some of the characters that they get into. Trying to think off the top of my head,
Was it Fallout 3? That Vault of all Garys.
yes.
Gary.
Which is also kind of terrifying.
Oh yeah, because this was back like what 5-10 years ago we were playing this, so we were quite developed as adults. Where like you walk into a vault and it's all guys who look exactly the same, and they all just keep going Gary.
Like, I don't know who Gary is. Like, hello. It's like, are you Gary?
Imagine somebody's name who actually was Gary, who played that game and went in there. And
he probably is scarred for life. He's like, I'm never touching another Fallout game again. Everyone's like trying to like, dude, no, it's just part of the game. I swear mine does that too. It's like, you don't understand. That's my name.
So you had mentioned you're googling a game. You want to?
Yeah, so I was gonna pull up so this game Shadow Warrior. So the only one I've actually played is Shadow Warrior 2. I don't really know how to jump too far into this. Without showing you a clip, the main protagonist is really funny. He's kind of like an anti-hero, and just the stuff he says is very humorous. So I'm gonna find a clip of that. If you want to bring up a clip of yours too, just to have it on the Reddit. But yeah, no, I've always had a good appreciation for humor in video games. Just it breaks up the depressing moments. That's loud. Let's see. But yeah, trying to honestly, some of the funniest moments always come out of playing with your friends, though. 100%. Just even in playing Dead by Daylight, just stuff like that, like in the more recent moments that we have that are just kind of like comedic. And just like one thing I kind of do, so I don't actually know the first game or anything. Like one thing I do a lot is I get game passes. I had one for my PS4 and also my Xbox One. I know it's still fun to on PlayStation or whatever. So when I got my Game Pass, what I like to do is I like to try out almost every single game that just stands out to me. And I was like, wow, this game seems weird. But I was like, maybe that's like, I told you, two of my favorite things are lore and game mechanics. I was like, this shit's kind of gonna have an interesting story. And then I was like, the game mechanics definitely look fun. And it was just one of those kind of hidden gems for me. I was like, wow, this game is actually hilarious. The dude literally just threw a bottle and just yelled fuck off for no reason. Like he's such a vulgar protagonist. It's almost like playing an Asian Deadpool. It's very entertaining. That's what I would surmise it to. So definitely worth checking out. I would give it a try. So that's one of those games that's just meant to be funny. And then one of my favorite things with gaming is like I mentioned earlier, not just watch it. One of my favorite things about gaming is playing with your friends because you guys create the most humorous moments together. Not just in Fallout, like even old games, just screwing around, even on stuff like let's see here, for example, I don't know, Soul Calibur games. Jeez, I forgot how to speak today. So Soul Calibur games are even humorous, just like some of the knockouts, stuff like that. Because there's nothing more joyful than just sitting down with your friends and just being goofy. And then I remember playing split screen games. That created a whole nother realm of humor, which is just always so fun. And I just don't feel like we can really capture that too much anymore. Like online gaming is still hilarious. We still have our great moments, but like there's nothing that beats split screen play for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I feel like I mean that was our multiplayer back in the day. It was all right, we're all gonna hang out, we're all gonna bring our Xboxes, bring some TVs, we're all gonna set up in the same room, like because either like where we didn't have internet or the internet wasn't good enough to hold three or four systems going at one time or whatever it was. So we had that was our online game or our online multiplayer was like anywhere from 5 to 8 of us jumping into a custom lobby and just going against each other, going for crazy trick shots and just fail moments. And like you said, the being able to play with your friends really made it enjoyable on the entertainment side of things, along with the humor and just really maximizing everything out of the game and bringing that all from together. A couple of years, I want to say at least a year ago. I'll see how this goes here, but
and we're slowly turning, and ready to fire.
and he just goes flying into the store. And then probably one of my favorites, and I actually found out that this is one of the most watched Twitch clips.
I'm about to get the shit beat the fuck out of this building.
Oh.
So yeah, it was just a funny moment. This dude is he's vibing to some Yodel Kid remix, and he's in Tilted Towers, pushes up a building. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck everyone up," and then he dies. And it was just one of those karma moments. But
I love it. I absolutely love it. And one of the I don't know why I thought about this, but one of my favorite older games to because maybe you mentioned Jack and Dexter. One of my favorite old games was Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PlayStation 2. It was I had a lot of funny moments messing around on the maps there with my friends, playing heroes and villains. Like I played a lot with Brandon actually, and I don't know if we've ever played that. I know we played games together, but I just don't know if we ever played that one. We definitely played
the old one or like the newer one?
The old one.
Yeah, I never really played the older ones. I've just played the newer ones that they recently came out with over the last couple of years.
It was definitely a lot more humorous then, just because the way the force abilities were very choppy, and it was just fun to use it to throw around people, and just like the stuff you could do. Lots of people ragdoll. It was very humorous. But yeah, I think there's still a lot of humor that holds up in a lot of these older video games too, especially like even when you look at Crash Bandicoot. There's still moments how Steve smile and crack up. And I think that's a very important factor of video games. I think it's really good they bring in humor when they can. And I would love to see. This is what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for a really good, like consistent comedy game, kind of like that one I just showed you, Shadow. Where like I find that humorous consistently for the most part. I would like a game for the new generation of consoles coming out that's going to have like really good mechanics, but just has a good sense of humor to it. I've been waiting for a really good sense of humor game to come out. I would like to see that with this next generation of systems.
Yeah, no, I agree. Having some sort of humor. Obviously, it's not necessary in every game. Obviously, you have to read your audience and kind of read the lore of your game and where your story's going. And a lot of times, forced humor, and really, aside from video games, even TV shows, really any kind of entertainment, if you're forcing humor into it, it can make it awkward. It's almost like that forced laugh of like, I see what they're trying to go for, but I didn't like that.
Yeah, it's like don't overdo it on the humor, but if you have a natural game based in this idea of like humor, then I don't know, because like that's one thing I was kind of hoping to see a little bit better. When I did play the Deadpool game, it just didn't really shine out. Like when it first released, it didn't really stand out for me. And Deadpool is one of my favorite comedy properties. I find him super humorous, and I would love to see maybe even like a video game voiced by Ryan Reynolds would be amazing, and just properly breaks the meta, stuff like that. Just a good humorous Deadpool game would be dope. Because that's what the content is. He's supposed to be funny, and I don't mind funny protagonists if it's well written. Because otherwise, what is your protagonist? You get a lot of protagonists who are just big meatheads who, looking at you, Gears of War. Baird was kind of funny though. Baird had his funny moments. So did what's his name, Coltrane.
Oh yeah, Coltrane. Barrett's humor was very sarcastic and kind of aggressive, and Coltrane was just having a good time.
Yeah, he's just always having a good time. Big and full of love and energy. That's what Coltrane was. I love it. Love it every second of it. And then you just get these moments with Marcus where it's just very depressing guy. But I'm glad they had that in there because that was a very depressing series for anyone who actually jumped into those games and played it with that kind of like, I'm going to look at it, they're depressing. But that's not what this video is about tonight. So.
I just realized I had made a clip of something, and it's one you're gonna be very familiar with. I'll just leave it at that, and I'll pull it up here for you.
What are we looking at here? Okay. This seems. Oh, I wasn't. Oh, here we go. Oh, who's that? Who's that on the train? Oh. I love that you looked away because you just accepted I was gone. You're like, yeah, she got sucked out. For those who didn't catch it, yeah, no, I need to learn how to walk better in Call of Duty Warzone because I got sucked under the train for whatever reason. Even the train didn't want me. It spit me back out. I just, luckily, because I got to be revived and it saved us 4,000. But.
Yeah. But no, I've seen a lot of videos of that where somebody just takes it one step too far on the train, not paying attention or testing their boundaries and just seeing, getting a little too curious. And luckily it spit you out. But
I don't remember. Jake never got spit out.
No,
funny.
Jake got sucked right in, and that ran him over.
I was too heavy for it. Too fat. All right, so yeah, I don't know because I'm trying to recollect some other video games right now, other than just moments. I'm trying to think of some other video games that really stood out as comedy focused, and that's not really ever been too many video games' main directions. Though there's like indie games I've played. I mean, there's Untitled Goose Game. There's the Goat Game. All these silly indie games where you just get to go do these humorous sandbox and mess around. That actually makes me remember one that's pretty bad. It's man. Hold on. It's on the. I think it's called Postal. Yeah, Postal. That's what it's called, Postal. So, for anyone who ever played the Postal series, I don't know if you ever played it. To put into context, there is. You know who Gary Coleman is?
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Our little person. But yeah, there's a scene with him in it with I believe an M16 rifle, trying to kill you. So in a mall. So that should give you a little context of what the game. It's a very humorous game. It's really fun. It's worth checking out. I'm actually going to see if I can pull up. Will it be your surviving family members?
Today's the first day of the end of your lives. I'd like to sign my petition. I'm sorry. You gotta be fucking sign my petition, damn it.
Okay, I guess that sounds pretty good. What the?
Would you please sign my petition?
Would you please sign my petition?
That body. What the? I love it, and that's just a very small segment. It's definitely worth checking out. Hilarious game. I can't remember which Postal it is, but I'm pretty sure there's a function where you can pee. I think it is Postal 2, where you can just pee on corpses and stuff like that. Very messed up. Very dark humor, but there's a lot of people out there who are also kind of twisted in the head, just like us. We already established we're not a family-friendly channel. So if you enjoyed peeing on corpses and beating up homeless guys, this is the game for you. Oh, and fighting Gary Coleman to the death. Don't forget that. But yeah, so it's definitely a humorous game. It's worth every second of play. As you can tell, the graphics aren't quite there, but it still holds up just because of the comedy in it.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of games that where they lack a little bit in the like graphic side of things. They make up for it in the content, and Fallout's kind of gotten to the point where they hit in both areas where the world is super realistic and like everything like looks super crisp, and they still give good content. But whereas kind of in the older Fallouts like 3 and New Vegas, 4 was kind of where it took that jump into being super realistic. So mostly 3 and New Vegas, it was kind of the more pixelated and grainy and kind of eerie. But I think that's what made the game as well, and kind of made it what it was. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of people always look for, oh, what's the most like realistic looking game, but I feel like if those games were super realistic, like, and weren't as kind of eerie as they were, I feel like they wouldn't have got, I don't know, as much appreciation from it.
Well, like even like games that like Left 4 Dead 2 balances that its sense of humor, and it's more for the most part very grim. But then you got characters like Ellis that just say the dumbest things in the dumbest moments. You're literally fighting off a charger or a tank, and Ellis just has the dumbest crap to say about it. And it's a good little lighten up the mood and change up the pace of things. But yeah, with Fallout 3, I'd say New Vegas was probably funnier to me than 3 was. 3 was a little bit more serious. I know there was what's his face? The dude who did the radio station was kind of funny. 3 Dog or whatever his name was.
Oh yeah, it's 3 Dog.
Yeah, it's 3 Dog. I loved him. But New Vegas, I'd say had just it was more funny just for the sheer like what the hell is going on in this game kind of moment, because it's just like they almost tried to make things just wackier and crazier. There was a perk you could get, or it was called Wacky Wasteland or something like that, or I can't remember what it was called directly, but the perk would add in like just weird things that would happen, and I found that really cool that they added that, because it just added these Easter eggs, and there's like little stupid humorous moments that came along with that.
Yeah, no, I kind of New Vegas was kind of a gray area. But now that you kind of talked about it a little bit more, I remember those kind of weird moments, and even just Bethesda as a whole and all of their Fallouts, they kind of add in those weird little quirks where there's this little shack off in the middle of nowhere that isn't even a marked location on the map, and you stumble across it and you're like, oh, what the heck, and you go inside of it, and there's like this intel that you find, and it's like super humorous or really dark. So it's just like the fact that a gaming developer goes out of their way to add little stuff like that, where you as a gamer go explore and you find it, and maybe you're the first person to find it, maybe you're the last person to find it, everyone's like, yeah dude, I found that like a year ago. But still, it's something that everybody can enjoy at a different level.
Exactly. And it's cool. It just shows how much they care, and that's why I'll always be a fan of Bethesda, even through their dark moments, looking at you microtransactions and selling Skyrim 5 times. But that's fine, because I still have hopes for them as an organization, especially just being bought now. I expect that, like, moving forward with their new project, StarCraft or whatever it's called, and Stargate, I can't remember exactly what the name of it was, and also their continuing series with the Elder Scrolls and their Fallout series. I think they're just going to continue to just create that kind of atmosphere where you'll have these moments where things do feel dismal and very dark. But then you're gonna have those moments where you find yourself laughing, even though you're in a nuclear apocalypse. So I think that's just really cool that they are able to expand on it that much, and it just shows what great game creators they are. And even the glitches and bugs that they don't intend to happen still have their own humorous mark on everything. So
yeah, for sure. It kind of like I guess the kind of the route we've been talking about so far is humor that's basically in the game that we're bound to find. We're bound to all enjoy at a different level, whether we the joke goes over our head or we understand the underlying actual like dark humor in it, or if we just see like the outside of it, and we're like, oh yeah, that's funny, but then somebody else is like, oh dude, that's actually messed up. Yeah. So there's all those parts of the game that are kind of a forced humor that they put into it for us to find. And I guess just kind of thinking of a couple different moments that like humor that I guess I created as a gamer that, I mean, and these games aren't meant to be humorous at all, and they're like racing games. So I remember like when I was little, I play like NASCAR, right? And you have like 40 some cars or whatever, and they're all going around the track. I always thought it was fun to take my car and drive the wrong way and try to make the biggest crash I could. So it's like one of those moments where like, obviously it's people are bound to do it eventually. It's like, oh, what happens if I go the wrong way? But those are like one of those moments where I created the humor, I created the fun moment in a game that was intended for me just to drive.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely relies on you as a player to find those humorous moments too in games that otherwise aren't really that funny. And now it's funny that you mentioned that, so I don't know if you remember. I think it's called Midnight City Dub Edition.
Oh, yep.
There's a game mode in that I really enjoyed. It was kind of like a battle mode, and there's one ability you could get where you could just launch somebody. And I used to, like, I don't know what was so humorous about that, but just launching someone else's car and you're in this moment of these fights, but it's just so humorous. And also going and sticking with the racing genre, burnout games, because the accidents, the way they did them was so cool, because it showed the car breaking apart. And it's like you would just aim when you're driving backwards and you're not supposed to, and just like try to wipe somebody out as hard as you can. And even there's even some really fun demolition derby games. I used to get a lot of hilarious moments out of them. Oh, and then GTA. GTA is.
Oh boy, that's a whole topic in and of itself.
Oh yeah, the amount of funny things you can pull off in GTA, and just let's be realistic here. GTA 5 had some of the most humorous characters for a big name game in a while. Just Trevor really just he's what everyone he's the redneck meth head that everyone wished lived next to him, but didn't. So he's just a wonderful character and an example of what crazy can be portrayed as in a GTA game, and I love it. But even then, we jump into online with our friends, and the amount of stupidity we get up to as well.
Yeah. I honestly completely forgot about GTA. Yeah, with all the going out of your way to destroy your friends' cars and just mess with them, and I was kind of behind the game on that. I don't even know what level I am now. I'm probably not even level 50 on that game, and everybody else I know that I played with is like over 100, and they all got these cool weapons and cars, and they got tanks and stuff, and I'm just still riding around on my bicycle.
I know. There's a certain kind of humor in that though too. Like imagine like you're just going up to like one of those stores you can go rob. You just roll up on your bicycle. You just got a handgun. You're just trying to get a couple thousand. Also, you see this guy fly by on his $1 billion space bike. And you're just chilling, and you're literally just robbing a guy, and this dude comes out of nowhere and detonates you while you're on a bicycle. Like imagine the context of that in a real life scenario. Obviously unrealistic, but it's still the idea of just a random grocery store robbery intercepted by a man on some futuristic space bike. So it doesn't get better than that when it comes to GTA. I think GTA really peaked in sense of without going too far. Because I don't know if you know Saints Row. I'm sure you've played Saints Row. That's another game that really brought the humor in it. I mean, they created a dildo for a weapon. I mean, yeah, like, come on. There's nothing better than just spending hours chasing around people in the streets, beating them up with a giant dildo. Like, just come flying out of nowhere with your dildo claymore. Like you're the dude from Braveheart. My question is that just assault or is that sexual assault?
All of the above.
All of the above. Crimes against humanity. We'll just call it that. Right? and that's a really good game, and they got really wonky. I don't know if you ever played the first two Saints Rows, but they were very not as crazy before. And they just jumped into wildness with Saints Row 3, and then it just kept continuing, and superpowers and aliens. Yeah, there's some elements of that in GTA, but I feel like they kept it very neutral to the point where it's not overbearing.
Yeah. And obviously in a game like that where you can just keep expanding with, here's another 20 gigabyte update, here's another update of just more and more content, it gets to the point that you're making it harder for yourself as a developer to keep up with all these bugs and keep the servers running properly. And two, it's overwhelming as a gamer they go onto a game and they don't know what game mode they want to get into. They can't decide. They're like, oh, there's like 20 things I can do. I don't know what to do. So it's like, as much as you don't want to make it a streamlined, this is all you can do game, if you get too big with it at the same time, you're kind of, I guess, overwhelming people, which I mean, I could be wrong. There's could be kids out there that are just like, oh yeah, I go on and I do this and I do that, and they just go through X, Y, Z of everything that there is to do in these games, and maybe they like that variety. But I guess for myself as a gamer, I like when things are a little more simple and easier to figure out.
Oh yeah, no, I can respect that because otherwise sometimes it just seems like they're trying to make it. It just seems like they're trying too hard sometimes. It just seems like they're trying too hard. And moving forward off of that, I really do like I do like tongue-in-cheek humor in these games. I like it very simple. Saints Row did it right there. I would say they did do a good job with their over-the-top wackiness. A lot of people were kind of divided about it. People coming off of playing Saints Row 1 and 2. But I think Saints Row 3 was very defining in terms of a game that's like comedy based. I guess you could say it's not really comedy based, but it was comedy. And so I think they did it pretty good. I just think that their franchise was kind of either ahead of its time or behind, like just kind of not hitting the mark. But I don't think that's why Saints Row is really like it was big, but it wasn't like it's not GTA 5, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember one too, kind of another funny moment. And it was, I guess, more of an entertaining, and obviously there's funny moments within it. But I don't know if you're familiar with the dirt racing games. There's like Dirt 1, 2, 3. I think there's like 4 in Rally. I think there's like 4 or 5 in total. But anyway, I always remember when Chris would come over and we go into like freestyle mode, and like he'd pick a car and I'd pick a car, and we like go into this like map or whatever where you can like jump around and do all this kind of stuff, and we play tag. So like one of us would be it, and the other guy would just drive around and hit these jumps and like try to get away from the other guy. And if the guy who's it ran into you, you were it. You had to go chase him and run into him. So obviously there's funny moments within that where it's like, and obviously it's timed. So if you don't get in a certain time, you lose and all that. So it's again one of those moments where obviously there's not really humor in a racing game, but if you have an imagination, you can create it.
Well, and that's funny. That makes me think about I don't know why, cause I just started thinking about Duck Hunt and Django, like the Django Wall map. I don't know if you ever played those. I'm sure you did in Halo, the custom games.
Oh yeah.
Launch stuff at the people on the wall. If you were the infected, you were launching stuff at them with the grab hammer, and that created for a lot of humorous moments, just hopping around, and next thing you know, you get nailed with a giant just wall that just takes you off. And or exploding gas canisters or whatever those were that they were launching, those power cell canisters, and that was always made for great moments. And then Duck Hunt too, just riding around on mongooses on a bridge, trying not to get sniped. Just those kind of moments. Even going down to just basic infection has its great moments in Griffball. If you ever played Griffball, but just some of the things you could do just came out very funny, and it's one of those moments where that's more of a playing with your friends based situation, but it made for a great time. I don't know, it kind of makes me like, I feel like I always reminisce and I recall moments in gaming that go back further from my childhood, be it nostalgia or whatever, but like, I just think back and it's like, man, it used to feel like it was so much easier just to like game with people you didn't know. Like you could just go into game chat and make friends, so much easier. And like it just feels like that's kind of foreign now, you know? It doesn't feel like you kind of like have those moments anymore because you already kind of got your friends that you're locked in with.
Yeah.
Interact that much with people, and it just like this goes back to the whole we were talking about how the community has gotten more toxic, and that's a whole other subject that we've talked about already. And if anyone's curious, they can always just refer back to the prior podcast how we feel about that. But yeah.
I never even thought of that. How back in the day, like everyone was in game chat. It was almost you were the weird one in a game of 12 people playing online. If you didn't have your mic on, you weren't in game chat. Like even if you weren't being toxic, you weren't. And there's obviously there's humor involved in that too, of just like the banter back and forth and like playing Infected, of just the chaos of that, and even going into Affected too. I didn't even think of that, and how that game mode we basically, I shouldn't say invented, we created our own real life Infected mode. As kids, we'd play that, and it was essentially the same thing. One person started out Infected, and at that point, it was just hide and go seek tag. If you got tagged, you became Infected, and eventually turned into 10 people trying to find one guy. And I remember, I think it was at my parents' house. I was, and it was during the winter. I was like in a snowbank. I like like half buried like a hole in the snow and laid in it, and then like just kind of trying to blend in. And I was there for so long that my pants froze to the ground. So I had to like when I finally got caught or like somebody saw me and I got up to run, I like got up and like ripped my pants because they were froze to the ground. So that was kind of a funny moment with that game.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that because I have this idea about recalling back to those days, but in a different sense. And I'm just going to run this by you. If you would ever want to try this, we all get paintball guns. We all wear a lot of padding and stuff like that, wear the proper mask. We play infected that way. So the infected doesn't get to have a paintball gun. So if we shoot them, they go back to our reset point, and like we have like a maze concept set up. But if they tag us, we got to go put our paintball gun down and join the infected, and we got to tag the people. But if they shoot us, it resets us. Interesting concept, right? I think
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like it's like reverse rather than. Well, I mean, it's kind of like how infected actually is. The infected have nothing but a throwing knife and attack insert, and that's it. And the survivors have a gun. So yeah, that I guess how the actual infected game mode is supposed to be played. That would be the correct way to play it.
We get like a Nerf knife and like just like a throwing knife they could use essentially, like something that's plastic, something that's not going to actually hurt us. And then we just have that extra padding, and they're going to be wearing extra padding because obviously paintballs are not fun. I mean, they're fun, but
We should almost have it like vital points on us in like Velcro, and then have like the whoever's infected, their knife is made out of Velcro. So if they throw it at you and it sticks to you.
Look at that. We could expand on this and go with that too. And it's like, I think this would be a really fun idea if we could get a decent amount of people involved in this, because all they have to do is hit one person once, and like all of a sudden it just keeps expanding like that, and we just find a big wooded area and do this. I think a lot of people would be on board for this. So,
100%. I'm down. I mean, there's two of us already that are down.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, wow, that's more than friends that I thought I had. So,
that'd be awkward. We do a podcast together, but we're not actually friends.
Yeah. This guy, we met at a bus stop once, and that's kind of where this came from. That would be amusing, though. Imagine just bringing in a random person you never met a day in your life. Sounds kind of terrifying, though, too, at the same time. Because what if they just start chanting like weird satanic bullshit, or, like, just moaning nonstop on screen?
All right, Tim.
My name is Boobla. Tim, stop it. I'm gonna cut your feed. You wouldn't look at my toes. Okay, I'm cutting your feed, Tim. I don't know. I'm talking about some dude named Tim who identifies as Boogla and like people looking at him. This is the part of the podcast we're at.
Yeah. Are there any other games? I know that's kind of been our main focus, is just kind of recalling those funny moments in gaming. Are there any other moments that I guess you could think of that you haven't talked about that you're like, I really want to talk about that?
Honestly, like, I feel like this is going to be one of our shorter episodes, which is okay, because I believe comedy moments in games is cool to talk about, but I don't want to also beat a dead horse and oversaturate repeating similar topics. This is something that you should do with your friends. And I just encourage the fan base to get out there and to really explore the comedic side of video games and really be on the lookout for it, because I feel like a lot of these moments get missed that are very golden opportunities just to create a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of a moment that just makes you think back and you just laugh, and it brings that lighter mood into your game. So I would definitely encourage anyone to just continue to seek out new and entertaining ways to really expand upon the comedy lore of games that already exist, and to see what kind of funny moments you can bring to your TikToks, your Instagrams, whatever you do, or your YouTubes, and share it with the world.
Yeah.
To do, and you just stay tuned. You'll probably see some really dumb videos coming of us as more games start releasing and we start playing more games together.
Yeah, for sure. And for those of you who do tune in and or 2 weeks into this podcast now, and we have a little bit of a presence in social media, so feel free to reach out to us. You guys have any cool gaming moments, funny moments, anything you want to share with us that we can bring up here on the podcast and just watch it and kind of we're always looking for new content.
Oh yeah, we're always welcoming to even just video grabs, anything like that you want to share. We'll take a watch and we'll have kind of a rule of thumb about it. If we both laugh at it sober and we both laugh at it drunk, we'll put it on.
I like that.
One of the best rules in the world. Anything worth your time, you can enjoy it drunk and you can enjoy it sober. That's why I like to look at things.
Yeah. There's actually one more clip. Before we kind of wrap things up here, it's been a game I've talked about a few times with Jack and Daxter, and kind of before we started this episode, there was a moment in that game that I had kind of had that photographic memory of it. So I just I looked it up and I knew exactly what the setting was and who was talking. So, and it took me like 2 minutes to find it. So I'll pull it up here, and then it's just a funny moment in the game that I want to share. So.
Definitely ready to do this. I've actually been excited for this. I kind of figured this would be a good way to end. What the heck is that thing?
It's Daxter.
Okay, I never played this game, so.
All right.
He has some big ass eyes. Oh no.
I have another task for you. The sewers used to be a fabulous smuggling route for me, with badly installed security devices.
And before those late-night snack runs kept you from fitting out the front door. Dank burning. Reeks worse than your breath at an oyster fest. Fuller of metalheads than your plate at a one-pass buffet. And of course, weapons more lethal than your ever-so-tiny whiteys on a hot summer day. Look, donut hole, why don't we float around here looking hot and heavy, and you go roto-root.
Dude, he just tore it into his wife.
I know that's Daxter's character. Like the entire franchise and the whole series of those games is, and that's from Jack 2, I want to say, and he was the only one who could talk. So in that one, Jack could talk, but the first one, Daxter would be the only one who could talk. So to kind of make up for the fact that Jack couldn't talk, that was literally Daxter every 10, 15 seconds, just spewing nonsense.
My question is, why would they cut his name from the title? He's hilarious. First off, I'm going to have to check these games out.
For sure.
He's definitely humorous. He just tore that poor obese creature. He deserved it for something, but no, he just completely destroyed him.
I know you said you have PlayStation. They're on PlayStation. I don't know if they're reverse compatible or how that works on PlayStation, but
that's not one of the biggest issues that a lot of people have with PlayStation. They're not backwards compatible, I'm pretty sure. At least the new upcoming PS5, I believe, isn't. Not to throw shade at PS5 or to give it shit about the fact that Xbox is better. But I'm just kidding. We're taking sides right now, Collin. We're establishing Xbox Series X or nothing.
Yeah.
That's going to get some hate. No. No, I support both. I'll probably end up owning both eventually, just in time for the next series or generation of consoles to come out and me to feel outdated. But, yeah, so this was kind of just our episode for the day. Not our longest episode, but I feel like it covered a lot of good content. I feel like we kind of, covered the idea of what we were trying to get across, was that comedy exists in video games. It's out there. Appreciate those moments, those light moments you get, and appreciate those moments you create with your friends. And I'll reiterate that send stuff in. Send stuff in if you think it's hilarious. We could even cue it in before the start of the podcast or at the end of the podcast, just a throwaway. Just be like, hey, look, by the way, this so and so sent this to us, and this is what they wanted to show you. And it's I don't know, like you guys just teabagging each other. I don't care. It could be if you make it humorous. If it's something that we both laugh at, like I established, drunk and sober, we will put it on the podcast.
For sure. Yeah, amen, brother. Yeah, for tomorrow we're actually gonna be doing a bonus episode as well. I won't give too many details as to what it is, so you guys have to come back now and check it out. But I'll put it at that. It's gonna be slightly off topic of gaming, although it kind of plays into the gaming world a little bit. But I'll just leave it at that, and yeah, we'll We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Well, yes, we will. And if you're a fan of video games, chances are you're also a fan of this. So you will appreciate everything we got to share with you. And with that, signing off.
All right. See you, buddy.
See you.